Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Rise and Slay Morning Show. My name is Rochelle Hemingway, CEO and founder of Slay to Success. I advise and empower women and professionals, especially women veterans, to step up into their most authentic personal brand to gain and attract lucrative opportunities. I'm also a presenter for workshops, presentations, conferences, all the things, y'all. Okay. And we are focusing on personal branding, self-branding, executive image, executive presence in areas of our appearance, behaviors, communication skills, and our digital presence. Because I understand and know what's happening in this world that we are living in right now. All right. We are either on Zoom, Microsoft Teams, StreamYard here on this platform, you name it, Ring, WebEx. There's so many different virtual platforms. And now there's a more of an appetite for us to be in person. All right. So today's conversation is for anyone who is struggling, okay, with figuring out their executive image. And we're going to be specifically talking about how COVID-19 is still affecting our executive image. I am a professional speaker, a certified image consultant, personal brand strategist or expert, an author of several books and publications, as well as a 30-year United States Air Force veteran. And yesterday, y'all, I turned 53. For all those that sent me well wishes and said, hey, happy birthday, Queen. Thank you so much. I've got to go back onto the digital media streets and thank everybody for sending out love. I was so full with joy and happiness yesterday, welcoming in this new year. And this morning, y'all, because I always share what I do as far as workouts, because that is part of who I am. And I was able to do a 30-minute run, interval run. And then I did some HIIT weight training, which is lighter weights, but we're working different body parts all at the same time. So as you come on in, okay, please share who you are, like where you're streaming in from. I would love to give you a shout out. This conversation is for anyone and everyone. I think this is a right on time conversation, and some of us are still trying to figure this out, and I am your guide. Okay, I am your guide to help us to get through some of the hard times, especially when it comes to showing up in our appearance. So today we're going to talk about how COVID is still affecting executive image. Okay. So I retired from the United States Air Force in 2021. And at that time, we were still in mask. All right. I know a lot of people are probably going into work centers right now, probably have to wear a mask, or you're deciding to wear a mask because of health conditions or the risk of not getting COVID-19. I did get COVID in September of 2022. And after I got COVID, I was wearing my mask for probably about another 6 months after that because I did not want to get sick again. But I know some people have had, sickness over time. But one of the things that now in the lane that I am in right now, in the industry that I'm in, I get questions a lot about, like, what does executive presence look like right now? Okay, what do I need to do about my wardrobe, and how do I need to communicate like who I am after COVID-19? And some people are getting it right, and some people, y'all, I'm just saying we need to go back to square one, because some of us are really struggling, and I see it time and time and time again. I go to a lot of networking events. Again, I sit on a lot of Zoom calls, and so I'm just going to kind of share, what is happening. And so some of you might be saying, COVID, really, Rochelle, that's what we're going to be talking about today? We're going to talk about COVID. That's been years ago. Well, the effects of COVID are happening right now in real time. So, COVID, might not be in the headlines like it used to, before. I remember watching the TV and looking at the number of people that were being infected by COVID and unfortunately passing away from COVID, which was a very scary time in our world as a whole. But now we're moving forward. And what I am seeing, again, I'm talking within the lane that I'm in right now. I am a personal brand strategist and an image consultant. And the imprint that is left on where we're at right now is real. Okay, so as you come in, let me know where you're streaming in from. Give me your name. So think about it. Okay, so I retired again in June of 2021 is actually when I had my retirement ceremony. And I went into my closet and I was like, what is going on in here? Okay, well, first of all, I was in a major transition. So I had to figure out like what my personal style was going to be. But secondly, I hadn't been into the store. I hadn't had a real conversation with people until about 6 months after I retired and I started doing networking. And I saw the relaxed, approach to showing up. And it started first on these Zoom calls. All right. Now, who we got going on here? We got Chevy. Hey, good morning, Queen. And she is tuning in from Alabama. Good morning, Queen, and happy to slay. Thank you so much for being here live with me this morning. Now, I'm looking on Facebook, y'all, because Facebook sometimes doesn't allow me to be great. So I just want to make sure there's nobody. Oh, Leslie George is there. Hey, good morning, Madame. Thank you so much for tuning in live with us this morning. So, it was like literally overnight. We were polished, put together. We understood when we had meetings that we needed to show up in a certain way. If we were given a presentation, we had our power suits or our power dress or whatever power outfit that we had on. And, we kind of understood, right? And then fast forward, we're 2020 was the onset of the pandemic, and now we're 5 years out. Okay, it's like almost like 5 years out, and I'll just say, I am not trying to, poke holes or point people in the eye for anything, but I'm gonna tell you this: for years, you have building your presentation on Zoom for many years, for 5 years, okay. And now you're going back into the in-person's settings, and you still showing up like you were on Zoom. All right. We had on leggings or sweats, on the bottom, got our nice shirt on top. All right. Some of us were still trying to, present well. And some of us, the lighting is still off. There, you don't have a name attached to your Zoom. You don't have a picture coming up. You are running around, with all kinds of things in the background. All right. I understood when we were in the pandemic, when we were coming on Zooms, kids were in the background. People were running downstairs to go get their Amazon packages. Okay, let's just be for real. People were eating and cooking and all these different things and really weren't paying attention. Okay, you're slaying your morning with an amazing strength training workout. Yes, Queen. That's what I'm talking about. All right. In Slay Nation, that's what we do. We take care of these bodies. Okay. We make sure that we get our movement in, our exercise in, so that we can show up, because we are trailblazers. We're community leaders. We are change makers. And sometimes that we need to figure out, like, how do we need to show up? And one of the ways that we can do that best is making sure that we are getting our time in to make sure that we have strong bodies, right? So people were juggling all kinds of things in the background with COVID. All right. So again, the dress codes became relaxed. All right. There was hybrid and remote work. And that became the norm. Some of us are still in that. Some of us are only showing up to work, in person once a week. So sometimes, we're like on Zoom calls or doing projects at home, taking care of the kids, taking care of the household, and all these other things. But while the standards have changed just a little bit, the expectations did not disappear. All right. You are still the ambassador of the company, of the organization in which you represent. How are you representing them? So from where I was, the experience that I had, so again, onset of the pandemic in March of 2020, and I was still in active duty. I was still in uniform, right? And we were telling people, hey, stay home. All right. Like only essential people should come in and work. And, in the meantime, there was a lot of things that were happening as far as people showing up in their uniform. What we started to see was there was a lax attitude, and it all came from discipline. There was a lack of discipline going on. So when it was time for us to go back into work in person, like maybe 9 months to 12 months afterwards, like everybody came back and there was really no teleworking going on per se. People were having a hard time. I'll tell you, we were doing uniform inspections, and people's were like buttons were busting. There was, a sense of like, oh, I'm going to lose these 15, 20 pounds that I gained during COVID. All right. And shoes were falling apart, y'all. They had dry rotted because they weren't wearing them. And people's heels were falling off in the hallways. It was a mess. It was a straight mess. And people were like, oh no, like I don't know how I'm going to get back to. Well, again, we 5 years out, and the same things are happening over and over and over again. So what I do now is I give presentations on this very topic still. I tell people like, or explain to them like the way that you are showing up in all the different areas, especially when it comes to Zoom, we've got to get back to what that is and making sure that it is in a positive light and it is the impact and the influence and the bottom line, okay, for what the company and the organization for which you represent. Now, all of us are in different worlds. Okay, so what works for one area may not work for another area, but you need to understand what the dress code is. You need to understand what the expectation is, what the standard is. I talk to a lot of people, and I remember having a conversation, and this lady was telling me that her job was giving her a hard time about this sweater that she was wearing. And she thought, well, it's cold here, and I like this sweater. And they kept saying it does not represent the company or the organization. You got to have to get the one that has a logo on it. All right. Not this sweater that you just pulled out of your closet. Okay. Because that's not what we want. So then she got all mad. Okay. She got all mad. And I just said, well, did you take a look at the handbook? Did you look at the dress code? Did you see that in writing anywhere? And sure enough, it was. So please, let's make sure that we're not getting mad at things that are already being put out there. All right. We need to understand that sometimes the elevation of a company as they grow and as they scale, so does the appearance and everything else that goes along with that for the company. So I want to break this down in kind of like 3 different parts. All right. Love that you provide training on this. Yeah, because it's about time. Nobody wants to touch the subject. Everybody is kind of like, just tiptoeing around it like on eggshells because they don't know how to share with somebody. Hey, listen, that is not how we need to show up now in this organization. All right. Got it that you were doing that when you were on COVID, and it was a mess. It was an absolute mess. All right. So I am sharing again what a lot of people may not think is important, but these are conversations that people want to have, but they're not quite sure how to have them. Okay. All right. So here are the subtle ways that COVID has reshaped the first impression. So, I talk about within the first 7 seconds of someone meeting you, they've already formed an opinion or a perception about who you are, what you do, how you do it. All right. You don't even got to say a word, and people are already sizing you up. It's just a thing. Please, let's just get over it, because I know a lot of people are like, oh, I don't want people judging me. They should not do that. That's what we do. That's what we do. Okay. We already kind of think in our head, are they, showing up a little carelessly, recklessly? Are they Are they ready for a bigger conversation? Seems like they took some time to really think about like what they wanted to wear and how do they want to show up. Okay. All this, I plan out all my outfits for all my events. I'll just share that with you. All the events that I go to, and I go to a lot, I look at the calendar and I ask myself, which outfit am I going to wear, present in the environment for which I'm at, and who is going to be up in there. So before the pandemic, all right, before it all began, these first impressions were almost always in person. Almost always. All right. I had no idea that even Zoom existed until the pandemic. All right. And so I know that has been a journey for many of us, like trying to figure out where to log in, how to log in, like where the cameras are at, where the microphone is at. But we judge someone's presence the moment they walked into the room. And we were judging their posture, the handshake, the attire, the energy, all of it mattered. All right, let's talk about handshakes. I want to just point this out, and I just need to say it here on the platform. There are so many people who are giving me limp, dead fish handshakes. All right. It's almost as if they are scared to shake your hand. Now, if you don't want to shake anybody's hand and you're going to in-person events, all right, we need to just not engage because people are now starting to shake your hand. If you need to get hand sanitizer and put it in your purse or in your pocket, or go to the bathroom and wash your hands afterwards. But I always get this limp handshake, and I know that there's a lot of hesitation behind the handshake. All right, I know we were doing fist bumps and everything else going on, but I'm just saying this because that is a presentation and how you're showing up. And it's energy, and all of this matters. It all adds up at the end of the day. So, but during COVID, first impressions became two-dimensional, right? It was a rectangle on the screen, and suddenly all the things, this lighting, this background, and even these camera angles, they all determined whether someone looked competent or careless. When I started out, I had a dark background. The lighting wasn't good on some days, and I had to figure out how to get back to presenting myself better, presenting myself where it was, I wanted to show up in the space that I'm in, looking the part, living the part, doing the part, because this is what I share with my clients all the time. All right. In the Brand Boldly program that I have, we talk about lighting, we talk about angles, we talk about, all the things in the background. The reason why I have these things in the background is because these are what represents me and what I bring into organizations. All right. It's part of my brand. So what do you got going on in your background? All right. And here's what's fascinating, y'all. These habits didn't just go away. People are still forming snap judgments based on how you're showing up online. All right. And even when you walk back into the room in person events, you're carrying years of your Zoom presentations and the expectations all with that. All they probably thinking is if you hadn't presented well on Zoom is, a lot of things happening in the background, a lot of background noise. Again, you're getting up, you're going to go get your coffee, getting your food, bringing it back, eating and carrying on. Mic is on while it should be off. There's a lot of simple things that we don't think about that form impressions when people are now engaging with you in person. So I want to just ask the question, what's harder for you now? Either mastering presence on camera, or is it mastering your presence in person? Okay, just drop it in the chat. Hey, Gina, how you doing? I see you on the Facebook side. Good morning, Queen. Good morning. So which one is it? All right. Are you struggling with, mastering your presence on camera or mastering your presence in person? Okay, because if those are the things that you're looking at, like let's figure out what you need to do to improve that situation. All right. So again, we're talking about how COVID is still affecting our executive image, which we do not want it to be affecting negatively. We're all wanting opportunities, something different. We want people to see us, all right, for what we do and what we have to share. All right. Some of us are business owners like myself. And having Zoom calls and virtual connections is one of the ways that we are accelerating our success. So, but how are you showing up in that? Are you using that as a casual event? Hey girl, how you doing? Or whatnot? Are you looking for an opportunity? All right, to get PAID. All right. That's what we want. We want profitable businesses. We don't want anything where our bank accounts are looking like that there's dust and there's cobwebs going on in there. All right. So we got to present better. All right, so we got Tish too. Hey Tish, good morning, Slay Queen. How you doing? And we got Gina. Gina, hello from the DMV, and hers is in persons. That's what she said is harder for her to master her presence in persons. All right, and we have. Thank you for sharing that, Gina, and letting us know so that we can talk through that. And then Stephanie is on the LinkedIn side. Hey Stephanie, good morning, Queen, and how you doing? And welcome to the Rise and Slay Morning Show. All right, we're talking about how COVID is still affecting executive image. So as we continue this discussion, put in the comments, like what is resonating with you? What are you seeing? What are people struggling with in the industry and the lane that you're in right now? All right, now, there are many of us and many professionals that after years of remote work, a lot of us lost our in-room muscle. Okay. Yes, let's get paid. Okay. We that's what we're doing. We're not trying to have conversations that lead to dead ends. That's not what we're doing. I created these platforms for visibility purposes. So that way I could put out what I'm doing and how I'm doing it so I can get more attention. I'm making a lot of noise in here. All right. And so, but I had to learn how to do this while I was in uniform. I was in person, but now I'm out of uniform and I'm online. So things needed to change and things needed to be in alignment with where you're trying to go. So I've consulted many leaders, all right, over many years, and people have told me that they used to own the room, but now they feel awkward with eye contact and their confidence feels off because it's a little scary to be like belly to belly, face to face with people as we're coming out of the telework or the virtual workspace. And so you have to be able to, understand what your body language is. We have to be practicing leaning forward into our laptops even more, or not standing. We haven't been standing at podiums and talking. We haven't been standing up or raising our hands. So we got to be able to get back to that. And we are getting back to that. So let's make sure that when we go to conferences, when we go to networking events, all right, if you haven't built that in-person authority, opportunities can slip away quickly. They can slip away. All right. So when you think about professionalism today after COVID-19, do you feel it becomes more relaxed, that it came more relaxed, or is it more confusing? I would say that it came both. It's relaxed and confusing. Okay, online is for you, Tish. I see you. That's what you shared. And then Tish says, my energy is lower when I'm online. I need to energize. Yeah. You know why? Because, when you're in person, we give off of that vibrational energy, right? We're laughing. We feel the excitement in the room. We kind of feed off of everybody. Like when you're online in your office by yourself, you got to pump yourself up. And how are we doing this? Monotone voices, the dialogue of people just running through slide presentations. I'm telling you, I just like, what? We haven't figured this thing out yet. Like, we need energy. Where's your energy at? So we need to figure out where our energy resources coming from. So do we feel that it's became more relaxed or more confusing? I think a little bit of both. All right. So I work with some people who are in the political space, right? And I go to events and so forth, and I see there's a difference between the people who want to get after it and really want to show up in the professional way, and then there's others that are like, I'm just here. I'm just I'm just gonna fit in with everybody else. I'm like, you need to be standing out. When if you are in a role of leadership and you have, responsibilities, heavy responsibilities, we can't be shortcutting. All right. And we can't say, well, only five or six people are going to show up, so this is what I'm going to wear today. No, that's that virtual mind thinking. That's that virtual setting thinking. All right. So we're going back in person, y'all. All right. So, but the good news, we don't have to do a full image overhaul. All right. Some people think, oh, I've got to go back to square one. Well, some people do. I'll just say, but most of us do not. And so we have to be making small, intentional shifts that we can create this big impact. So here are some things that we can do now. All right. I'm going to share a few things. If you haven't thought about it, or if you're doing it, tell us your strategies. All right. Put it in the chat. Let us know. So one of the things is the posture. Okay. So when I walk into the room, y'all, I'm always thinking long and tall. Like I got a string on the top of my head. I'm pulling myself up, and I'm thinking I'm going to walk in there as tall as I possibly can. I got my shoulders back and my chin up. I am not looking down at the ground. All right. I'm not walking in with my phone in my hand, looking at the phone. I'm telling you the things that I'm seeing. All right. Avoiding eye contact, avoiding to talk to anybody. You said you wanted to go to a networking event or a conference, but yet and still you are isolating yourself in that. And you're like, oh, I'm scared. I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm going to sit in the back. I'm not going to get anything out of it. You paid like $200, $300 to be in the room, but you don't do anything with it. All right. So making sure that our posture is up, shoulders back, chin up, not on the phone, talking to this person, that person. If you got to take a call, take it out into the hallway. All right. Because this is your time to start to engage. All right. This is about executive image, right? Presenting yourself well. First impressions, 7 seconds, right? What are people going to say when you go into the room? Right? You want to project confidence without saying a word. And this can be practiced, you getting back into this in-room muscle. All right. That's what we're talking about. After being on Zooms for years, for 5 years, and we're still on some Zooms in some way. But there is now an appetite for people to come back in person. Now, for the camera setting, if you are still on camera, a lot of times, maybe 2, maybe 3 times a week. All right. We can't be sitting in the shadows. Okay. This lighting got to be turned up. The computer needs to be at a level where they can see your head, your eyeballs, and all things. I get people who are cut off at the eyes. All right. I don't know what the angle or where they're looking at and what is going on in there. All right. So we have to have good lighting. We have to have an eye level camera, right? And we got to position, because this instantly communicates credibility. Okay. So I know this isn't just about looking the part. It's about leading with intention. We've got to start looking at what we are doing and make these small adjustments. So whether you are speaking on stage, okay, so I speak on a lot of stages. In fact, on Sunday, I'm going to an empowerment event. I'm speaking on a panel, and I'm going to be showing up. All right, the Slay Queen, that's my persona. That is my nickname. And so I show up because I want people to remember me. That is the whole point of what I do and how I do it. All right. And some of us are still sitting in boardrooms, or we were being asked to go and represent our boss or our supervisor. right? To go into a meeting, all right? So, or join a Zoom call at the last minute. If you are asked to join a Zoom call at the last minute, have an idea of what outfit pieces that you can put on right away to give you that executive image look. I'm not saying being perfect or anything like that, no stretch of imagination, but we definitely don't want to come on with a hoodie on. All right, I've seen it. People got hoodies on, and I even had a young man who had the hoodie on his head for a Zoom call. And I said, no, 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 no. We're talking business in here. Why you got that on your head? All right. So there's a lot going on. So, what's one adjustment that you've personally made to your image since COVID? Okay. If you made an adjustment since COVID became, let us know what that is so that way we can see if that can work for us too. Because this is all in the vein of showing up in the presentation, okay, packaged in such a way where people want to learn more about what you do and how you do it. So, our image is still speaking for us before we even say a word. All right. People already get an impression of how you're showing up on the Zoom, on your LinkedIn profiles, on your Facebooks, on your YouTubes, wherever, TikToks, Instagram, wherever you are at. All right. Is it in alignment? Are you already deciding if you're credible, trustworthy, and worth listening to? All right. COVID didn't erase that truth. All right. If anything, it made it louder. So we got to make sure that we know that our image is in a reset mode. Okay, great information. I have a meeting. I'll watch the replay. Thank you. Yes, Queen. Have an amazing meeting. And thank you so much for showing up as much as you could for the show. I appreciate you. Okay. And Chevy said, yes, come presentable, no matter location or event. Dress for the room. Yes. Okay. And just pass that along to anybody else that is in your circle. Dress for the room. And don't get mad. Okay. And I'm going to leave you with this before I say goodbye. Don't get mad when other people are showing up for the room and for whatever reason you did not. I hear it all the time. I'll sit down. I'm just minding my business, trying to take in whatever's happening. And for whatever reason, somebody comes up, pulls up, and says, oh my God, I didn't know that this was going to be this type of an event. Oh my goodness, I don't know why I wore this outfit. Oh my goodness, I just want to go home. Okay. Again, if that is what you are saying to yourself on more than one or two occasions, you need to come see about me. I'll get you squared away. All right. Where we don't have to be looking at what the person on the left or the right, behind, in front is doing, because we understand what we are doing and what we want to accomplish from the event that we are going to. Tish says, I have separated my 3 brands by color. I am comfortable in front of the camera and going live. Okay. I do make sure I dress for the Zoom room. Yes. Zoom rooms and now in persons, because people are wanting to do more in-person events. If you are going out, like your lifestyle, you should have wardrobes already ready and set up for your lifestyle. I go to brunches. All right. I go to church. I go to my son's basketball games. I go to networking events. I speak on panels. I do presentations and workshops for organizations. I get on Zoom calls and virtual connections. I work with clients, on Zoom. It's just a robust schedule that I go on. Do you have the pieces of clothes to represent the executive image that you are trying to go for? If not, this is time for you to stop what you're doing. All right. Go look in that closet and check out what is happening and what's going on. And let's start leveling up. Okay. Let's start leveling up because other people are doing it and you gonna get lost. This world is fast and ongoing, like the rapid pace of whatever is happening, what's going on. You do not want to get left behind. You don't want to become irrelevant because you just failed to keep up where you're trying to go. And if the organization or the business is growing, you got to start growing in that way too, in your presentation. Because at any point in time, somebody can tap you on the shoulder and say, hey, I need you to step in and do XYZ. All right. And the last thing that you should be saying is, I don't have anything to wear. I don't know how to do this. I don't know. We figured this out in my Brand Boldly program, your signature personal style. That's one of the things that we talk about. Okay. So if you're leading a team or an organization right now, this message isn't just for individuals. All right. Because again, I give presentations and workshops on elevating your image in the workplace. All right. Because when your people show up with presence, professionalism, and polished, your entire organization wins. I have seen it time and time again. All right. So, this has been the Rise and Slay morning show, and we really talked about how COVID is still affecting executive image. And I gave you some insights. There's some subtle things that are happening that have reshaped our first impressions. All right. And we talked again about these handshakes. Let's get these handshakes together. Okay. There's many people who are still struggling to rebuild their in-person presence. All right. Because for it makes sense. All right. Our body language was practiced leaning forward into the laptop. It wasn't standing behind the podium like we're being asked to, or, showing up with energy. All right. And then we have to make some simple adjustments. Okay. And so some of those can look like posture, string on the head, walking tall, chin up off these phones when you're walking into a space, presenting yourself like, hey, I want to be here. I'm trying to, meet new people. I'm trying to share what I do and how I do it. All right. And then these wardrobes. Okay. Again, they don't have to be extravagant. All right. You can find nice wardrobes now. All right. They're making them affordable in different places. All right. Your clothes should support your message, not distract from it at all. And then, last but not least, if you're still looking for someone to help guide you, okay, I have my Brand Boldly Elevate Your Impact program for individuals who are looking to elevate, all right, and accelerate their success. And we talk about brand identity, like let's figure that out first. And we talk about the modes of communication. We talk about your personal style. And then we talk about LinkedIn, because LinkedIn, I'm telling you, has given me about 99% of my opportunities. And if you have seen me, I'm here, there, and everywhere getting PAID. Okay. So, yes, the Slay Queen has you showing up as your best self. Yes. All right. Because this is a nation, a community of trailblazers, change makers, community leaders who understand and know the importance of showing up and being able to be consistent, all right, with what you do and how you do it. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining me live on the Rise and Slay Morning Show. We had Chevy, Stephanie, on the LinkedIn side. We had Tish, Gina, and Leslie on the Facebook side. All right. And if anyone comes back, put in to watch, just put hashtag replay and let me know your thoughts. Tell me what you're seeing. Okay. I would love to know so that way I can create, more content for my next show, which is next Tuesday. All right. At 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And if you are still following me with all the things, I have a Slay to Success talk show on Sunday nights at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and I have a Slay Amazing guest this weekend. So if you're available, please join me then. And if you're interested in the Brand Boldly program, just DM me and say, hey, I need your help with my personal brand, my image. I need to reset. I need to reframe, redo. And also, if you are an organization event planner and you're looking for a keynote or a presenter of a workshop on elevating your image, I'm your girl. Okay, let me know and we can have a conversation about it. Okay, so thank you so much, Chevy, and thank you so much for the feedback. I appreciate you. And Stephanie says, showing up in the room. Okay, that's what we're doing. All right, we don't just get into the room, we show up and then we show out. All right, so keep on slaying until you can't slay no more. And I will see you all very, very soon. Have a slay amazing week. Bye-bye.